Hello and welcome. So today we're going to talk about the Yamaha Xmax 300 and 10 things I like. And in no real order, these are the things I like about the Yamaha Xmax 300. So, number one, the fuel economy. I'm sure when you're looking for your next personal commuter, with the current cost of fuel, you might be looking at the displayed fuel economy on dealers' websites. In the real world, most of the time, these figures seem exaggerated. Maybe checking independent websites like Fuelly.com might give you a more realistic idea. But each vehicle varies depending on factors like weight carried, how aggressively the vehicle is driven, and the Xmax, even being ridden at all recommended speeds and limits for the roads, and riding it hard, carrying 110 kilograms plus, which is my body weight, and no shopping, it still returns me 80 miles per gallon or more, which, to be fair, doesn't seem even possible. This motorcycle will return figures of over 100 miles per gallon, and that is very impressive for something that isn't a small 50cc or 125cc motorcycle or scooter. More impressively is it doesn't seem to matter what sort of speeds you go at, whether that be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 mile an hour. It will always return better miles per gallon than I've ever expected it to. So on to number two, the weather protection on this bike. With the added apron upgrade, it's probably the best I've ever had on any two-wheeled vehicle. I guess the only way you could get a better weather protection would be a BMW C1. You know, the one with the roof and the windscreen. The screen keeps a lot of the wind off you, and so does the bodywork. The screen isn't perfect, not from my height, and hasn't got enough adjustment, but it still does a great job. The apron helps keep your legs dry, warm, and there are various versions available. Mine is the Yamaha one, and I had it fitted. This allows you to pretty much go into work with a set of waterproofs over the top of your normal trousers, and there's no way you're going to get wet. Unlike an open motorcycle, where if you're on the motorway getting rain from the top, off the roads, off the lorries from either side of you, even with the best waterproofs I've found that I can afford, I would still end up with damp patches when I got to work. So to number three on my list, the storage on this motorcycle. There's 44 litres without you even adding such a thing as a top box or side boxes. So to the usual eyes, nobody's going to know you've got anything in that storage space, because you just don't know it's there, unless of course you know about these bikes. So under the seat there's space for 2 crash helmets, apparently, 2 or 3 bags of shopping, or just locks, spare gloves, laptop and work clothes and shoes, depending on what you need to carry. It saves having to buy extra storage like expensive top boxes, racks, and it also takes that rucksack off your back. And it's watertight, so no worries about your stuff being soaked when you get to your destination, unlike with a rucksack. For me, this was a winner, taking that rucksack off my back, and believe it or not, my rucksack, even after 5 years of heavy rain, is still waterproof and a great bit of kit. But I'm getting old, and I don't need it on my shoulders and my back and forth 50 miles with a few kilos on my back is not something I find at all comfortable. So the storage space is brilliant. So on to number 4, the clear display of all the dashboard instruments. The mixture of analog and digital dashboard displays are both clear and easy to read. The analog speedometer and rev counter just require glances at them to read, and are very familiar. The digital display is clear. If the mode button is a little less basic in functionality, scroll one way or scroll the other way for the top option and one way for the bottom option. But compared to the small digital speedometer fitted to the Triumph Speed Twin or the thin band on the Moto Guzzi V7 Stone display, these are far easier to read and far less distracting because you're not looking at them trying to read them for longer. This is a dashboard that most car buyers and most motorcyclists would instantly recognise and have no problems getting along with, unlike some of the new ones that seem to contain far too much information. Is less better, or do you really need all that information you get from a modern display? Tell me in the comments, that'd be great. So on to number 5. The low maintenance of this motorcycle or scooter is awesome. There's no chain to leave or clean or adjust. Now I do know people like to keep their bikes clean and maintained, but when you leave and it's dark and you get home and it's dark and you have no safe or well lit place to do this, it can be risky at the best of times doing maintenance on the roadside. It's easy to keep clean as there's not a lot of chrome to polish and most of the engine isn't visible. The plastics wipe clean or jet wash quite easily. Unlike some motorcycles, where if you brought them home, you're going to have to spend time cleaning it down, drying it, polishing it, and then putting it away. But this is no bike to go on concourse shows, or even to be a pride and joy, I guess. It's a bike to do a job, and that job it does extremely well, and has very low maintenance to do so. So on to number 6, the comfort. The bike's ergonomics, if not perfect, are still very comfortable, and I have spent a full day on this bike and still had no issues walking or standing upright straight. Whereas with some bikes, you can't wait to get off them and you do need to stop. The wide comfy seat with a small lumbar support, which I thought wouldn't do much, is a pleasure to sit on. The seat is very comfy. You don't feel many bumps, as there's such a big thick padded seat that you're sat on. The handlebars seem to be in the right place and it doesn't hurt your shoulders. I have no pains when I get off that I wouldn't have if I was on some more race aggressive stated bikes. It's very much a sit up and ride position, very much like my old Tracer was, but I'd still say this bike's more comfortable than the Tracer. So to number 7 on the list, the cost of ownership. The running costs and insurance and road tax and the servicing costs compared to a bigger CC motorcycle can make for a substantial savings, especially if you need a dealer stamp to prove your motorcycle has been maintained to company vehicle standards, or you don't do it yourself. I mean, I can get both tyres for this bike for the cost of my Yamaha Tracer's 700 rear tyre. This is a frugal and practical maxi scooter. The tyres aren't going to cost you the earth. The servicing's about £50 to £60 cheaper than the 700cc Tracer each time you take it. I mean, there's nothing really not to like. I mean, we've covered the fuel performance. It takes the Tracer apart by about 30 miles per gallon. I mean, you want this to go to work and back and cost you as little as possible. You're not going to get much better than this. Maybe a 125, but then you can't take that on the motorway. So the cost of ownership for me, as these aren't the most expensive machines in the shop, is still a great deal, better than most motorcycles. So it's number 8, how easy it is to get on. The maxi scooter, even with the apron fitted, is so easy to get on, even if most of the time I still get on the way I would a motorcycle by swinging my leg over the seat. Compared to the Tracer, this is easy, but not as easy as some of the other bikes I've ridden, including some that I've test ridden recently. But this is a universal bike. You could get on with this with a skirt or even a kilt and nobody'd see anything. You don't have to swing your leg over the seat, as you can get your foot between the front handlebars and the seat, although you still have to lift your foot up a lot higher than some flatter scooters where the gap's a little bit bigger. But again, it's not hard to get on. And the good thing I find with this is the pillion can get on while it's on its side stand, shuffle back, it's very stable, and then you can get on quite easily afterwards, even though watching us two get off can be quite funny. So on to number 9, the performance of this maxi scooter. I'm always surprised by the performance of this maxi scooter every time I get on it, regardless of where I'm going. The engine and the CVT gearbox make light work of every road conditions I've thrown at it. It's not blisteringly fast, it doesn't accelerate very quickly, but it can keep up with traffic in all conditions. Okay, it won't overtake easily at certain speeds, but it certainly can overtake and not just milk floats. Anybody remember those? So when you're overtaking, you are going to need further to make that manoeuvre and a clearer set of roads. So you can overtake, but if you're up to the 50-60 mile an hour range, it's going to need to be a dual carriageway for you to overtake. You're not going to have that instant power. You can't drop down a gear and just go past something and disappear into the distance. So it doesn't encourage you to try and overtake, but you know, you'll easily overtake a tractor given that there's room. Lorries, they may be a bit harder to overtake, but slow moving cars are no problems. I have found the odd thing is this bike will do 70 miles an hour along the flat quite easily, but it'll also do 70 miles an hour up a steep hill. Just very confusing that this is down to this magical gearbox. So on to number 10, the safety features on this motorcycle. I've never had a motorcycle with traction control, never thought I'd need it on a small CC maxi scooter either. But that, along with the ABS, makes starting off and stopping much more assured than some of the old motorcycles and scooters I've ridden. Yes, I know traction control and ABS are not replacements for rider skills you should master, like braking and subtle throttle control. But it makes life easier for those of us who are not blessed with Mark Marquez type skills, or panic in emergency situations. Yes, maybe we should practice doing those emergency stops so we don't lock wheels up and we don't need ABS. But we don't use it all the time. Even car drivers who've had ABS for years find it a lot better and a lot easier to stop. So why wouldn't it be a great thing on a motorcycle? The traction control. It's great. You don't know what you've got that back wheel on. You don't know whether you're on a patch of oil, a slimy piece of road. Yes, you should avoid the white lines, but to be fair, I've never found them to be that slippery. Unlike drain covers and things like that, but there's a section of road where I have to go down, where you've got 3 or 4 different drain covers on the ideal riding line, and you have to change your riding line to the next bend without hitting them. And in the dark, you can't necessarily see them, so it does help to have that traction control available. What do you think? Is there anything you'd rather have been included in this list? Are you an owner of this motorcycle? Do you have things you like more than what I've stated here? Is there anything you disagree with? Any questions? Leave them in the comments. Please like, subscribe and share, as this will help the channel reach more people. And thank you for watching.